Hello, today I'm going to show you how to use the next-gen destruction toolkit in your own project. So for the first step we want to do, we have to set up the config. So you go into where you've got your next-gen destruction toolkit downloaded, go into the config folder, default engine, and this has all the engine settings that when you go into project settings, it's the same thing. The first section you want is the collision profiles. Specifically, there's only a couple you actually need, which is the ignore character for chaos and the destructible. So if you have your own collision profiles in here that you've set up, you want to just take these lines, but for the purpose of the tutorial, I'll just take all of this. I'll copy that to clipboard, and I'll take it into my target folder, go into the config, default engine, and I'll just replace this entire section here. And then the second part that you want to take is the physics settings, which is where I've set up the physical surfaces, the all the chaos settings, etc. Again, if you have your own physical surfaces, you can just add these to those and keep your own as well, but make sure you get all these settings as well. But again, I'm just going to copy this section here and overwrite the physics settings in here. There we go. I'll save that. And then what you want to do is open your next-gen destruction toolkit where you've downloaded it, and we're going to migrate the files over from there. And I find the easiest way, unless you want to get just specific things, I just migrate this entire map here, because that has all the destructibles in it, it has the logic, all the stuff that you need to port into your own project. So I'll go asset actions on the demo map, migrate, all of this will be checked, which is fine. And then choose your target project, content, boom. Now you'll want to open your target project, which is your own project. In this case, I'm using the FPS Animation Blueprint, which is a pretty good starting point for first-person shooters. And I'll close the other projects I've opened to make it simpler. Alright, now, once you're in here, you want to, basically the goal is we want the destructibles to interact with the player character and the weapons that they use, right? So this is the default sort of behavior here. It won't trigger destruction, etc. We want to change that, and the way that we do that is, for the first step, we're going to open the first person character in the next-gen destruction blueprints actors folder. We'll open that up to get the logic pulled up there, and we're going to basically transplant this logic into the weapons of the FPS Animation Blueprint. So normally in these kind of projects, the logic for firing and the projectile or bullet trace logic is in the base weapon itself. So in the FPS Animation Blueprint, it's under Blueprints, Weapons, Weapon Base. And if we go up here, it's already open, fire shot. This is a function that will fire either a hit scan or projectile bullet. Now, this logic, we basically have the hit scan here and projectile here, and we're going to put them where these are. First, we need to add the destruction, next-gen destruction component, which has a few functions there for this interaction. I'll compile that, and then let's start with the hit scan, right? We'll forget the bullet impact lighting for now because that is sort of part of this character itself. It has a light setup, which obviously wouldn't be set up elsewhere. What we want to do is we'll take this, copy, and paste this here. This obviously is a null reference, so delete that, drag this one in that you've actually made, add that, and put that on the hit scan. Now, what we need to do here to get this to actually work is we're drawing this trace from the player, which is fine. There are some places where it spawns effects though, which uses a socket on the weapon, which I set up, and it's called muzzle flash in the next gen destruction toolkit, but weapons from these kind of setups may have their own names on the sockets. So in this case, the name of the muzzle bone here is just muzzle with lowercase. So I will go into the next gen destruction component and change the names there to be muzzle, so that it attaches the effects at the correct place. Now, I believe that was all for this one. I'll just make sure. Let's see. I mean, there's one way to really find out, isn't there? And that is to test it here. So let's play, and this will only work with hit scan weapons for now because that's the only logic I've implemented. So this one is hit scan, I know that. And there we go. New bullet trails, impact effects, etc. Now, for the projectile, we do essentially the same thing, and that is we take the logic from here and spawn the projectile. So I will take this here. I actually won't use this tracing function because it uses the camera from the first person character, which doesn't exist in the weapon base. So I will use the logic that they've used for the projectile. So they've got the actor, which is their projectile actor. They've got the transform. Let's find out how this is set, which is here, right? So we want to get this logic, go back, take that. This will give us the projectile transform, which is really what we were using here for the tracing, is just to get the rotation, but we'll also use this to get the transform for the location. So I'll copy this logic here, paste it in here, and remember we've got to change this to lowercase muzzle because that's what it's called on their weapons. And instead of, well, actually we're not using that at all, so we'll just take this, split, use the location here and the rotation, don't worry about the scale, and plug this in here, and this should theoretically work. Let's check it out with the rifle. That's the projectile, impacts. Cool. Now, we want it to interact with the destruction, of course, which it should be right now out of the box. So let's test that. Blueprints, actors, breakable object. Let's go pillar, small, which is that one. but we have to set it here, otherwise it won't actually interact. Alright, let's try it. There we go. Pretty quickly implemented there. And there you have it. That's how you get your weapons working, both the hit scan and the projectile. Now, side note, in the shoot projectile or fire shoot trace functions that are here, or in whatever your setup is, there also might be interactions with damage handling and stuff like that. So you need to look at their setups for those and also add them in the same place, right? So if it has a function that it's calling when it impacts to deal damage to what it impacts, you need to implement that, or just copy paste what their setup is for that. So let's have a look here in shoot trace. So apply point damage, right, in the trace. This whole part here, we can ignore the impact effects if you're going to keep the impact effects from the next gen destruction toolkit. Same with the impact impulse. So you can really ignore those. You take this part here, remove this, and then basically add this together, go back, and because we're not using this function anymore, I'll just drop it in here, but you could wrap all of this up into one function, right? Because this is like a local variable from inside the function. But that is the gist. You would sort of just add that logic as well to make sure that you got the rest of the logic and you weren't just deleting it. Or alternatively, you could replace this part and the effects part inside this function with this, which might be simpler in some instances. But really, this video is just to show you how to implement the destruction inside your project. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Cheers.